Good morning. Good morning.
She's
How
freshly back from her European tour.
Yes, Big Ben Parliament. It was wonderful. It was great.
Oh my God.
We had an absolute
Love it.
blast, I have to tell you. I think this trip changed me. I think I'm better for it.
I absolutely believe it. I could see it on your face. I could see it on your face.
Yeah.
That it had actually changed you.
Sometimes
in the best possible way.
In the best possible way. Sometimes you have to walk away from things. You have to pause to really hear the universe speak to you. I had an amazing time in Glastonbury. That whole experience at the Chalice Well, it's beautiful. It's life-changing, and it's connecting to nature. It's a place where you really can hear the goddess speak, and you can see her alive. And the other thing is, this is a beautiful world filled with beautiful people. And the only way we're going to really, truly eliminate our fears, our judgments, or how we feel and think, and really mature as people is by getting out there and meeting everyone. Because generally people are really, really kind. I had wonderful experience in Paris. The French were welcoming and loving, and the food. There were parts of England that just really moved my soul, and Ireland is a beauty that everyone should experience. It's a beautiful world filled with beautiful people.
I've got to get there. I have to get there at some point. I have to.
So. You will. It's very exciting. It's funny. It kind of goes, my next trip that we're Tim and I are really talking about is going to Italy and to Greece, the home of this week's Evil Eye, the Maloikia.
Yes. Well, I mean, let's be fair. It's through so many cultures.
Absolutely.
We discussed this in our book.
Mm-hmm.
We discussed all about the lucky charms of our cultures, and we discussed, the evil eye, everything really, like so much of what we're about to talk about today, we actually covered, and it's like, it's good to see some reinforcement. And I'm telling you, this book,
it's fantastic.
I gotta say, I don't know if I've been as excited about a book since our books. Like this book, how much I adore The Evil Eye, right? I mean,
absolutely.
I love it. I'm almost always wearing one. In fact, since I had my name necklace, Evil Eye, done, my Evil Eye protection with my name, it has not come off of me since it arrived. Since I had this made, it has not left my body. And it's like, it just feels like it just belongs there. So I don't know. It's awesome. And I had my nails done for over a month. This past month, while you were on your journey, I was on a journey too. So while you were spreading your wings and exploring other locales, I was kind of, doing the same, but here, and launching the downtown location for Gallows Hill Witchery. So the whole time you were gone, I was manifesting that. So, and I was not removing the evil eye. And it's one of the first things I put in the new space as well.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. It's yeah. Yeah. As you know, you and I have both had quite a bit of experience with jealousy and with malice and with people trying to take credit for misfortune and all kinds of things. And it's like, I feel this topic is very timely. Protection is a very timely topic for a lot of people, not just us. But when this came up, hell yes was
Yep.
the response. So happy to have Antonio joining us today to discuss this. This is Antonio. He will be here. He will be tuning in from New York. So we'll be speaking with him, and of course, we're going to talk to Tim SoaringWolf and find out what the hell is going on up there with those planets. Mercury has gone direct, but I'm telling you, this shadow is strong because we were late starting today because so many different issues were happening. It looks like Leanne's gone dark. I think she's having struggles with her internet today. It's just been crazy. It's been an absolutely crazy time. Now, normally, right now, I would ask Leanne to pull the card. And of course, she disappears. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start talking about the protection, some of the protection talismans, and we'll wait and we'll get Leanne. So some of the stones, I love to talk to you about stones on here. Everybody loves obsidian. There's this love with obsidian right now. It is awesome for protection. And as we've talked about the scarab in the past, and Antonio talks about the scarab in this book, The Evil Eye, that we'll be talking about quite a bit today. The scarab is discussed. This is one of my personal ones. This is a sheen obsidian. It's a golden sheen obsidian scarab. That scarab is a symbol that it has become a power symbol to me personally. You'll find it in Awakening the Crystals. Lisa Ainsworth illustrated. She did a beautiful watercolor of it, of this beautiful scarab. She did a watercolor of a pendant that I have, and she executed it perfectly. And so that scarab is a very powerful symbol. Also, the Eye of Horus, which am I wearing one? My intention was to wear one. No, it's probably in the other room. But I think you guys know what the Eye of Horus looks like. And if you don't, I'll find it in the book. But I am wearing either just an eye symbol or the Eye of Horus. And I have one with a lapis, which is also, so often associated with anything Egyptian. So it's powerful, not necessarily always associated with protection. So obviously you'd want to combine it with other, stones of other things that beef up that protection. I have an affinity for hawk eye, which is blue tiger eye. And a lot of people do say tiger eye is protective. It's also really good for, just strength and vitality and courage and all these other good things. But anything with an eye beam is going to have a protective bent to it. So you notice if you've been on the Gallows Hill Witchery Lives, you notice that I've had my my nails painted with the evil eye on them quite a bit. This time I went different. I went with cat eye, right? But the idea of it is the eyes, is that these are all eyes. And the idea of that comes from, the predator-prey situation that Antonio does bring up in this book. We are all, we're animals, right? I mean, we're all here on the planet. You'll notice that a lot of animals have eyes on them in their markings that are meant to protect them, because it's meant to be like, my eyes are on you. I see you. I see you. I see you, Leanne. The more eyes you have on you, the less likely it is that someone can sneak up on you, right? So if you are somebody that's looking to protect yourself against sneak attacks, up to and including fake friends with false adulation, which Antonio gets into false adulation in this book, The Evil Eye. You know, if you're looking to protect yourself from stuff like that, having eyes in other places than just right here helps you from those kinds of attacks, right? So also a lot of times an equal arm cross is considered a very protective symbol. And a chiastolite, and I'm waiting for Tina to chime in, a chiastolite has a naturally occurring equal arm cross in it. And so chiastolite as a stone is really powerful also for grounding and protection. Another thing that I'll tell you with regard to tiger eye is, you know, I have an amulet. This is like a protection piece. So it's tiger eye, but it's carved in the shape of one of my power animals, the dragon. And wearing an animal's set of eyes on you is another way to protect yourself. So wearing a talisman of some kind, an amulet of some kind that has also that creature has eyes that's looking out for you. And this, you know, this one happens, his mouth happens to also be open. And so that's also another protection. The idea of protection, the idea of I'm baring my teeth. This is like what an animal does when it wants to show you, I am not unarmed. So fuck around and find out.
Fuck around and find out, people.
Fuck around and find out. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about real quick in terms of things of protection that we can wear and certain kinds of amulets or talismans that will bring us luck and therefore keep us from harm. Sometimes the best ones you can have are ones that are combining a lot of different elements, including stones. This one used to have a little crystal ball attached to it. It's missing. But to be fair, I created this when I was 18 years old. That's a few years ago, guys.
That was last week.
This is a braid of hair of 3 witches. So this is me and my 2 best friends cutting locks of our hair and gifting them to each other and sitting and braiding them together and weaving in the feather of a crow to also watch out for us, keep watch for us, and then adding the crystal ball as vision, psychic vision, to kind of keep watch and inform us and raise our intuition, which is another thing. The reason the eye is like so associated with that intuition is it gives you the vision to see beyond what is, beyond, the mundane, beyond just what is presented to you, to either the future or, things that are going on behind the scenes. And that's another reason why psychics are both revered and feared, because they can see into that future. So speaking of that, and there's the cat screaming at the truth.
No.
Leanne, speaking of psychics and seeing into the future, what is the card for this?
The very knowledgeable and capable Hierophant.
Ooh,
yes. Ooh. Yes, I picked him very, very, very early this morning. Lou, do you have the picture? There he is, looking very, very I'm starting to begin to take some classes and stuff. It's very, very appropriate as I really dive into, my knowledge and what I'm strong with. It's also a message for all of us to, in some ways, to follow our heart, learn and grow, but, come from here. Nobody needs any more armchair sorcerers running around this world. It's all about the act of do. But I've always looked at the Hierophant, in a negative way. Sometimes I think he can be a little bit of a jealous little brat. At times, I also find him to be very judging,
Yeah.
and he tends to judge you. But I think when I get this and I look at it, I think I learn that I am the worst judge of myself. I judge myself harder than anybody. And I think that if we look around, we'll find a lot of kindness. But the more we know, we grow. And I felt it was also very appropriate after we travel. It's a journey of learning, it's a journey at times of luxury, of just learning what you're capable of, digging in deeper and finding the balance. The Hierophant speaks of also of our balance. He has the pillars next to him. He is able to dip out of the knowledge and read fabulous books like Antonio's. What haven't you learned? I think this is a little call. Pick up something new. Pick up something new this month
You want to hear
and
something
start
crazy?
something. Yeah.
You chose the card that has the Mano Pantea. The Hierophant is doing the Mano Pantea. I'm going to read a little snippet right here.
Please.
If you extend the thumb, index, and middle fingers while keeping the ring and little fingers tucked in, you get the Mano Pantea. It is at once a sign of benediction and a gesture to ward away the evil eye. It predates Christianity, but some Christians believe it represents the Holy Trinity and often relegate it to a priestly blessing.
Yes,
reserved for clerics and other religious. In ancient Egypt, it was known as two fingers and may have represented Isis and Osiris, with the thumb signifying their child. In Italian folk magic, the Mano Pantea is most frequently used to bestow a blessing on a newborn, an infant, or a child, but the blessing is one of protection, not prosperity. Right?
So, it's all tied in. That's the card.
That's talked about.
Well, I also feel that this wonderful priest is giving me a blessing. So this is our blessing for the day.
That's right.
This wonderful
holy
man is protecting us from all negativity, all jealousy, and all bullshit.
Yes, and ignore any cats that scream.
I don't even know. But also the cats' screams, they say, protect us against the evil eye. Why are I came down here to stay away from the dog. From the dog.
It's teaching us to ignore it, to just ignore the people, that the naysayers that scream in the background. Just ignore.
We don't need them. We don't need this. All right, Slimothy, come on.
Yep. So I am wearing a ton of my, like protective charms. And of course, we don't want to talk about all of them, right? We don't want to show and tell all of them, because just like with personal protection, there are some charms or protections that you want people to know you have, because that in and of itself is a deterrent. And then there are others that you don't want people to know you have, just in case, right? Like you don't always want to know, you don't always want people to know how armed you are. Sometimes you want to keep some things secret.
Absolutely.
But I have always loved any kind of jewelry with an eye on it. I've always loved. So I've always worn a lot of pieces that have an eye on them. Of course, as witches, we know this is a protective symbol. The pentacle is one of the best protective symbols a witch can wear, right? This is, if you imagine yourself standing with your arms and legs outstretched, and that circle is that circle of protection around you. So that whole idea of all the elements, all the guardians coming together to protect you, So obviously wearing a pentacle or having one tattooed on you is excellent protection. And then the next one down, I have a selenite piece with an eye. So I love selenite for the kind of that purity factor, the cleansing. It'll keep the other pieces clear of any negativity. And then also I have a ton of my personal little charms. I have a ton of, like, I have the Hamsa with the evil eye in it. I have just a beautiful just evil eye and one of those beads, one of those beautiful
Evil
blue
eye beads.
And I also have the cornuta.
Oh yes.
So I have a lot of different things on. This is like my sort of my little, bag of charms here. That this is usually under my. I don't always wear this out of my clothes. Sometimes this is under my clothes, but
I think that's awesome. I love it.
Today,
I got some gorgeous stuff in England that I don't have in front of me, but I would get later. I might be able to get it later. That was handmade evil eye stuff hanging up in my kitchen where there's a noisy dog, but now there's noisy cats. It's been amazing, and
I love it.
It was very funny to go into the London Museum to find Italian folk charms. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you can see them. I put the pictures up. I'll put it on my page after this. I'll put it on the CT page and on the Insta, because it's funny. A lot of the forms of protection against the evil eye, they haven't changed. I saw an ancient garlic that was hung up in people's kitchens to ward off against the evil eye. That was ancient. It was ancient, thousands of years old, that are still hung in Italian homes today. I'll be getting my garlic to hang in my kitchen. I get it every August at the St. Anthony's feast. So I love to see that. And that wasn't just in Italian homes. They were in these things were found in England. They were found in Ireland. They were found in France, found all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. The Hand of Fatima, that's gone. The Hamsa has just gone everywhere. The whole thing, the Nazar, it's everywhere. It's become a fashion statement practically. I actually don't normally carry anything in gold, but I did bring in some jewelry for tonight's jewelry live. And Lou probably has my little thing for Gallows Hill Witchery. But I did bring in some some jewelry with evil eye. I don't normally do things in gold, but I found some really cool with the Italian, the red and the black.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Really, really cool. Really different bracelets with, that's the Figa. I got a different one here too. This one's really cool. I like that one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then of course I also brought in, that's sort of the I guess the Greek version, which has gone everywhere, the blues with the blue and white. So that'll all be on tonight's Gallows Hill Witchery Live. So thank you, Lou, for popping that up. Let's get
let's bring him on.
Let's get Tim in here and find out astrologically what's happening.
Yes. Hey guys, and thanks for having me. Love to talk about the evil eye. Of course, growing up in Hispanic culture is always very prevalent. They call it the mal de ojo. And I remember as a kid, my grandma talking about it, usually dealing with jealousy and envy. So people that looked at you that were jealous of you could send you evil vibes because of their jealousy. So it's interesting. We're talking about that as we have tomorrow, the new moon in Taurus. And this is a new moon of building up money, wealth, beauty, And what happens when that happens? Of course, jealousy, envy, and all those other things. So good timing to be talking about this type of protection. A lot of astrologers are saying this is a very powerful new moon of manifestation, because we also just had Jupiter enter Taurus. Jupiter is currently sitting at the 0 degree of Taurus while this new moon is in effect. And when I think of that, I think of, and I was hoping just maybe you might do the Fool card for the tarot, but because I think of that number 0 with the Fool and tarot, just unlimited opportunities, boundless new beginnings, right? But also still got to be careful with taking unnecessary risks, right?
Yes.
The big thing with Jupiter is he's squaring Pluto and also Mars. So usually anytime Jupiter is touched, I mean, Jupiter is the great benefic of the universe. So it's usually always positive, even if it's like a square or a not so happy aspect in astrology. But when we think about Jupiter, the negative effects of Jupiter is about growth, abundance, moving up, growing, right? Jupiter is a warm and wet planet, the perfect conditions for growth. But the overabundance of that, too much of anything can be toxic, right? So too much abundance, too much confidence leads to risky behavior, taking too many risks. Too many risks leads to accidents. Too much confidence leads to arrogance and possibly fighting that doesn't need to happen. So with this type of square energy, we need to be careful of not trying to push to a point of at all costs, like it doesn't matter what it takes, because that's where the downside of the Jupiter energy, it will come back to bite us. You know, we approach things with a very angry, confrontational energy. We may be met with violence. We got Pluto and Mars in the mix. Remember that. So that is the downside, but that is like a very small downside to all of the other positive energies happening with the Sun and Moon and Taurus. You know, we have this shift of leaving the Taurus nodes after June. In July, finally shifting to this Libra Aries axis. So we have a lot of Taurus energy this month, 5 planets right now. Mercury has come out of retrograde, but as you said, this shadow period is not for the faint-hearted. You know, it has definitely been a time of self-reflection and just reviewing. We had 12 weeks of all planets moving direct, and then finally, boom, Pluto went retrograde, and then Mercury. So it was like powerful of the time of, hey, shifting directions here, walking backwards, using new muscles, looking at things differently. But now we've learned a few things. Hopefully the past 3 weeks, we can take that knowledge to move forward. When I think of Taurus, I just want to say 2 things. I think about the phrase stopping and smelling the roses, number 1. Because that is a very Taurus thing of enjoying life's beauty, right? But also I think of fine dining. I used to work in fine dining, and ironically, it was a really funny incident. First day, I went up to a beautiful restaurant. The chef was amazing. I learned so many things from Chef Andres. And I went up to him and I asked him, "Are you a Taurus?" And he was. And I said, I know you're going to be an amazing chef then, and this is going to be an amazing restaurant. And it was. And now he's in Chicago, another foodie town. But fine dining to me is, you know, when you think about fine dining, it's it's not just the food, right? And everything that comes with it, but it's about the luxury of it all, right? Fine dining touches not the aesthetic, the beauty, the presentation on the plate is the eyes. Then we got the smell, and you hear the sizzling or the sounds it might make. Then you've got the taste, and then the feeling it gives you. So Taurus touches all 5 senses. They are the ruler of the physical world and the 5 senses. So stopping and smelling the roses this is the time to do that. We need to learn to enjoy life, enjoy what we've done and what we've accomplished. And of course, again, this is a big, I feel like we've gone through so much. There is a lot of fear in the air, and there is a lot of other strange energy, but this month is just going to be filled with a very beautiful Venetian energy. Venus is all about beauty, art, luxury, peace, harmony, diplomacy, of course. And right now Venus is in Cancer. So that's the lunation that have this lunation of Cancer under this new moon. Mars is in Cancer as well. We've got the new moon making a sextile to Neptune and Pisces. So even though this is an Earth new moon, we've got this flowing energy. What does flowing energy bring us? New abundance, new blessings, right? We want things to flow in. We don't want things to be stopped and stagnant and blocked. So this is, again, to be focusing on that time. And then when I think about Taurus, the earth energy, so last month's was the Aries, right? Aries is the fire, inspiration, the goals, the vision. Taurus is now about manifesting, materializing, bringing into reality what we have been focusing on. So again, this is a great time of manifesting. Tomorrow, I am actually going to physically plant seeds. And this is a great time to do that. This is a ritual you can do to plant physical seeds. You can even go so far as to focus on the plants you want to plant. You want to bring in peace. Maybe you're going to plant lavender, harmony. If you want to bring in other things, of course, there's plants that we can go through all day, but I'm going to physically plant seeds, and I'm going to, as I'm doing it, manifest and pray about the seeds that I want to see grow and become trees in my life. And the other thing, in this period of growth where we see the growth, we want to remember the last thing to produce on the trees are the fruit. So if you have been working hard, you have been building up already, take time to enjoy it, but also remember that it hasn't gone unnoticed. It will produce fruit, but that is the last thing, right, that comes on the tree. So
self-care.
Self-care, absolutely.
Self-care. Take your self-care up another level.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
look at facial that you've been putting off. Get your toes done, like some kind of relaxation where somebody else maybe is working on you. For those of us that get our nails done and things of that nature. So actually like taking and receiving instead of just constantly output, production, feeling productive,
enjoying,
going. Take something in and be able to enjoy something, someone else. And like in fine dining, it's getting served, right? Yes, so get served. That's my message for right now. Get served.
Absolutely. Yeah. The luxury of it all. Be luxurious to yourself. And it doesn't have to involve money, but it should involve enjoyment of some kind, pleasurable activities, right? Even if it's just a picnic and going out and enjoying earth and nature. This is a great time to get into nature. But yeah, just the that square, this could be a time where we see if you start to see the greed and the people like at all costs, there's going to be some exposure of greed, exposure of power hungry people at all costs. There is that stubborn energy. So this isn't the time to try to like push your opinions or force your beliefs on people, because they will be met with opposition. But this is the time to be just open to beauty, open to love, open to those positive things, because the more you are, the more you will be met with that. The more you try to force things, like Pluto tries to be and Mars tries to force things sometimes, you will be met back with that same energy. So that's my only down thing I would say. But otherwise, every astrologer I know out there is just raving about this new moon Taurus coming up tomorrow. And just that Venetian energy that's going to be present throughout the next few weeks. So capitalize on it. Do something Venetian for yourself tomorrow specifically, and even throughout the month. Tomorrow is Venus Day. Celebrate Venus Day tomorrow, and the new moon in Taurus. Absolutely. And thank you, guys. That's pretty, it's pretty much everything I had. And thank you always for having me, guys. I look forward to this really peaceful month, and see you guys next month.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much. Now, my girl, Leanne, has once again disappeared. But it is time to bring out our very special guest. And I'm super excited. Antonio, what a fantastic book you've got here.
Oh, thank you.
Loving it. Really loving it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I see. Yeah, Leanne will come back, I'm sure.
Hopefully she'll pop back in. She's got that retrograde shadow technology thing going on.
I had it too in the beginning. Yeah.
Everybody's having a little bit of trouble technology wise today, so we're just gonna cut some slack. But I gotta tell you, I I'm adoring this. The Evil Eye, the History, Mystery, and Magic of the Quiet Curse. And I really love that you lay it out as there's 3 different forms of this. There's the false adulation, where someone is approaching you and they're complimenting you and they're kind of blowing smoke up your butt.
Mhm.
But secretly, they're really kind of seething over your success.
Yeah.
So that's one way. And then the second way, direct confrontation. And you outline a situation where you run into your significant other's ex,
Mhm.
and you can tell that they are, they're deliberately giving you that stare.
Yeah.
And then there's the temptation of fate,
Mm.
where you yourself are bragging, or you're taking things for granted. You are celebrating before the actual thing itself has taken place. And one of my favorite shows is West Wing.
Mhm.
And there's a confirmation of a judge that's happening, and somebody they're starting the celebrations, but
Mhm.
the votes are still being cast. And Toby Ziegler, who is he's not an Orthodox Jew, but he is he's his faith is definitely, we know that he's a man of faith. And he's telling people, if I see even one balloon, if you even pop one cork, and somebody says something and he says, run outside and turn around 3 times. And then somebody else goes, and spit. And he's like, and spit.
Yep.
And you also talk about saliva in
Yep.
here. So it's like there is so much great information in this book. I've been absolutely loving it.
Thank you. I mean, it was certainly a labor of love in many ways. I mean, I grew up with the evil eye everywhere. My parents came from Italy. My grandparents, we grew up in a house in the Bronx where my grandparents lived downstairs, my maternal grandparents. And so we, were very immersed in every aspect of the culture. And my grandmother in her, town in Italy was always one to do the evil eye diagnosis, to remove the evil eye, and to take away malocchio, to tell people. So the phone would ring, there'd be neighbors, friends, other people, and she was one of just a handful of people who knew these prayers and these rituals. So growing up with it, that was a big thing. And I think I wrote about it in the book, but I talk about how not only how someone else can give it to you, but what you mentioned was that keeping silent was a huge thing. I remember my grandfather was always, even that toy that you might have gotten, the shiny expensive new toy, you unveiled it slowly to the neighborhood kids because someone could give you malocchio or the evil eye because of the jealousy of the toy, and the achievement. Even you have to live. You have to live your life. Everyone has to live life, and you have to go about and you have to celebrate your achievements, certainly, and the achievements of your loved ones, and the great things that happen, the job promotion, just the good grades, the awards, the new house, the marriage, the love. All of that has to be celebrated and spoken about. But as I was told, you have to do it in a very mindful sort of way. Once. Okay. And it goes back to the other issue too. People ask me this all the time, and I say to them, do you need to post 15 things on your social media, or is that one just enough? You got the point across? How much do you need to sort of go out there, and again, it goes into the idea of boasting, because of growing up, that was a big no, and it really got the eye on
many cultures. And I think that it's less so here in the United States, but definitely old world. It is, a lot of people are like, do not, brag about the good things, and do not pre-announce anything. And if Leanne were here, she would be telling you that when they were first opening Pentagram, that I didn't even know about it. They kept it 100% completely secret. until the lease was signed, all the documents were signed, incorporation papers were signed, everything was signed, sealed, and delivered before anybody was told really anything. And I just launched the downtown office of Gallows Hill Witchery. I signed the lease on May 1st, Beltane, and I didn't tell a single soul, and still haven't announced where it is. And I'm not broadcasting from there today as a specific protection, because I'm still just revealing it, as you said, slowly, and trying to just keep it as protected as possible. So,
and that was huge growing up. One of the things I remember when my mother got an invitation the first time, I mean, I'm sure she had gotten invitations to baby showers before that, but I remember being a kid and at the kitchen table, she was opening up and she got a baby shower, and she was like, "What is this?"
Yeah,
like they didn't. I talk about that because that was like she was like, "What are they doing? Having a baby shower? Something as delicate as birth and pregnancy." So that was a big no. We didn't announce it, and exactly as you're saying, you're keeping things. You're doing it in a measured sort of way, little by little. Absolutely. I write about it, same thing. You want to talk about the new house, but don't until you got those keys in your hand, till you've signed everything, you can take someone in there. And it goes back to the bottom line. And I said earlier, not in the book, but I've said before that the book itself is a friendly reminder about an unfriendly topic, because not everybody wants to really get into the reality that we've all felt feelings of envy, jealousy, we've all felt resentment, we've all felt anger for specific reasons or people or situations, but we've also all, I believe, been on the receiving end of
myself very much so.
Yeah, it's every one of us. It's one of the, to me, it's probably, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, I think it's the most universal emotion that we all share, and I think that's a really big part of why the evil eye has survived for so long in so many forms across so many cultures and creeds and countries, is because it really is just a part of the human condition. We all know what this emotion is. It's not something that you learn. It's not something that you necessarily can unlearn. It's just something that happens, but it has an energy to it, and we can see the effects of that energy, and that's why it's so important to just get it out there, to let people know what it's about. The awareness of it is a big thing for me.
Definitely. And the one we have the most control over should be ourselves and our behavior, which is that third one, where we can control, how much we share, when we share, where we can kind of say, okay, I don't want to get too comfortable and confident in whatever this is. I want to keep myself somewhat reserved, and and wait to celebrate after the fact and with the right people. But the other two involve other people. And while no one wants to be on the receiving end of that second one, where you are looking across the room and someone is just absolutely shooting daggers out of their eyes at you, I find the first one to be the most insidious and disgusting, where someone is portraying themselves as your friend, but secretly they just want everything you have. And slowly they weave their way into your world until they themselves practically wear your skin. Until they're trying to get all your contacts. They're trying to get in every single crowd that you're in. They're cozying up to you, and they're just acting like they're just your BFF. And meanwhile, the whole thing is because they just want what you have, and it's almost like they want to become you. And that I find to be the most insidious.
The sugar-coated comment. It's actually, when you sit down and think about it, It's frightening. And it's not only about the people. I always say it's not only about the people in your past. This is also an uncomfortable thing when we're discussing the evil eye and envy and jealousy. A lot of people say to me, I think I know, and years ago I had this person who was a friend, now it's an ex-friend, and I saw this person. That's very much possible and very true. There's a lot of weight to that that statement, that argument. But what about the people in your present? Not everybody wishes you well. And
Yes.
I think I did weeks ago, I did a video, TikTok video, when I said, if you think everybody wishes you well, if you think everybody wants you to succeed, you think everybody wants you to live your best life, do all of this, you're wrong. And again, not here to give, the point is not to let people walk around frightened or in paranoia. No, that's not it. It's to become aware of what the evil eye is, the energy that is absolutely real. It has symptoms, it has signs, it can manifest in so many different areas of your life, your loved ones' lives. And the point is to be able to recognize it. Yeah. And then once you know, you can diagnose it, you can cure it. There are many different aspects of doing that, but it's knowing it, it's the awareness of it. So many people I have had over the years who've come to me and have said things, I don't know what's going on. Do you think this is weird? And it's like, okay, yeah, you've explained this. What's ultimately is the spate of bad luck. But it's like, that is kind of weird, don't you think? And everything else is okay. And also people look at it. Some people will say, everything's okay in my love life. Everything's okay in my home life. But I can't seem to get it with this job thing. I can't seem to get the promotion. I can't seem to. So sometimes it's literally certain areas. Who is it that you're working with? Doesn't want you to succeed. Doesn't want you to get that new place. Again, these are all aspects of it. And the awareness is so important. Once you understand what the evil eye is and how it operates, you do become empowered. You understand how to use your own energy and how to deflect other people's energies, and just how to ward for your home, for your children, for specific events. I wrote something about, I remember there are some herbal things I did about for marriage. The wedding day is a big thing. Specific life events. Got a lot of people there. And they might all be jumping around and celebrating with you, but not everybody's really happy for you there. And again,
and that's the classic one, right? The wedding.
Yeah.
That's the classic one. I don't know if anyone's ever had a wedding that didn't include jealous people. I know my wedding had a lot of jealous people, maybe not physically in attendance, although perhaps some were. And then definitely some people that weren't invited were absolutely ridiculously jealous. And when I look back at everyone that was at that wedding, most of the couples that were at our wedding are no longer together. And we've remarked on that a few times. And I'm like, I think watching us actually, it brought up something in a lot of those couples of like, I don't feel this way. How come I don't feel this way? I want that. I don't have it. And I think it generated unrest, or I don't know if it generated it. It unearthed it. It brought it to the fore. And I can't tell you how. I can tell you that more couples are not together that were at that wedding than that are together. So the vast majority are no longer with the people that they were with at that wedding.
It's fascinating. It's sad and it's fascinating, but that's all the time you could see that. And, growing up Italian, of course, weddings were very common and very huge most of the time, which is why I think, my husband is Jewish, and when we got married, it was just the two of us at City Hall. But in our,
safest,
his brother,
right?
Sister, his friend came. It was just the two of us and a couple of other people. But I grew up seeing a lot of this, and it is very true. Those kinds of events, think about them. When you're having a lot of people around you, it's basic sort of basic understanding that these people, not all of them, but a lot of them, have their own reasons. Perhaps they've thought out their own reasons. You don't even know those reasons. It's It's real to them. What you just said, they look at it and it awakens something in them. They look at what you have, it awakens something, it arouses something. It's what, I deserve that as much as they do. Why didn't I have it? And boom, there you go. That's the first, inkling of it. That's the awakening of it. And once it's unleashed, that's why it's the quiet. I go into when I speak about the quiet curse, it was so important to me to talk about that. And it always is, because a lot of people think about curses, okay? And as practitioners, we've all gotten these questions. People will come up to you and say, I think I have a curse on me, and it's okay. You'll talk to people. I always ask people, what did you eat if you don't feel well right now? When was the last time you drank water? What's going on today? But I have a terrible headache. Or then they'll describe a pattern of things that have gone on for a long time. But a lot of people have this idea of a curse, and they have images because of, what have we learned from Hollywood and all that? What have we learned? They have images, the graveyard dirt, the candles, the hair. Now, that's certainly valid in terms of casting a curse. There are practitioners who go about it, but there's a lot that's that kind of curse requires specific timing in many ways, specific days, as we know, specific ingredients. The difference between that kind of curse and the evil eye and the quiet curse is that all you need to unleash the quiet curse is that emotion that's within you.
Yeah.
That's all you need. That's why it's so dangerous. It's not the person who's going behind closed doors or who picked that strand of hair off of your coat and now has it kind of thing. That's not what you have to worry about in terms of this. It's much more dangerous because it's someone who's just going to look at you and is going to unleash that emotion. And it is true when you spoke earlier about the sense of being stared at. And there's a book, that I reference in the title, The Sense of Being Stared At, because how many of us, the example of the sense of being stared at goes to show the energy that emanates from the eyes and from the body itself. Because I think I've been in those situations where you can feel people, you feel something.
Yeah.
You walk into a room, you think about the funny instances. You walk into a room, there's somebody, you don't want them to know that you're watching them for whatever reason. You hide behind the column, you hide behind your friend, and you're doing a really good job of this. You're doing a good job of it, but all of a sudden that person turns around and is like, they might catch you, or you might jump back in time, or you could be on the other end of it. You sit down, you're reading your book in the park, you're walking, you're just doing what you're doing, and you can turn around because it's like you felt it. You felt that little dart. You felt that needle. It was, and it's that sense, and that's the energy. I think we've all experienced that. And how do you say that? Because there is an energy to it. And that's where you get into the eye as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that you talk about the eyeliner. You talk about, because I sometimes do a segment on this show about magical makeup. And if I had to do it today, I would just say that black eyeliner goes all the way back. It goes back centuries. And once again, it is the idea of making the eyes prominent. It's the idea, it shows, it's like, I see you, I'm looking at you. It also it's like decorating that, the idea of vision, the idea of psychic vision. Mm-hmm. So it's like the decoration or the adornment of it is putting it to a higher level. And so, I like when my eyes are brought out, when they're enhanced on my face. I'm Irish and I'm pale. And if I don't have lashes showing, people think I'm tired. I used to hear that all the time. Oh, you look tired. I have literally never heard it again since I started getting my lashes done.
And the interesting thing about the makeup too, if I can interject, you bring out the eyes, but the interesting thing about the eyeliner or the kajal that I write about is that it also is believed in many cultures, when you use the makeup, the eyeliner, it also deflects the eye because it kind of confuses the eye to a degree. So you're kind of having, you're getting two things with one there. You're empowering your eyes and you're empowering your own sight and your own awareness of things. And at the same time, it's confusing the eyes, so to speak, and that's where a lot of those other amulets come in too. Many practices of hanging a mirror when you walk into your home. Many people will hang a mirror right in. As soon as you walk in, you'll be facing a mirror. That's the same
Right.
reason. It's sort of, it's believed to confuse the eye, and it'll look away from you. So and the eyeliner has that same effect on people. Yeah, magical makeup is fascinating stuff.
And what I've talked about in the past is that a lot of people will associate, in particular, Salem witches with, I've heard people describe this a bunch of times, heavy eye makeup and a bunch of big jewelry, bunch of sterling silver jewelry, or a bunch of, and it's like, okay, so it's doing its job.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those things are doing their job. Because if they're putting you off, they are meant to put you off.
They're meant to be, yeah.
They will attract who they're supposed to attract, and they will get rid of who they're supposed to get rid of. If that's your reaction to seeing somebody like me going down the street, then I'm getting the exact reaction I want. I want to know how you feel about what I am and what I do. I don't want that to be secret or hidden from me. So if that's making you make a comment that shows me how you really feel, and I love when it's like, oh, I'm just joking. Oh, I'm just joking.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. You're betraying. People tell on themselves constantly. They tell on themselves.
Beware of those jokes. Beware of too many of those funny little jabs. When people, you have people who are just making every, that jab. That's their own rage. That's the seething, the anger, the envy. That's what's coming out. And again, that's what you become aware of. And I've had so many people tell me that once they've started to become aware of it, the first, time it was cute. It was funny. My friends, keep jabbing it. The second time, but by that third time, it changes your perception of something, and you do sit up and you take notice. Yeah. Because there's something behind that act.
Absolutely.
There's something behind that person's need to give you that, funny little, comment that's really insulting in a way, but they're saying it with laughter and it's cute. Oh, yeah. And it's no, it's not. And it has an underlying point. It has an underlying motive, and it's going to hit you in some area of your life if you don't know how to protect yourself. And certainly, protection is, to me, the cornerstone really of magical practice. In whether you're doing it for the evil eye, and whether even when people learn how to use any kinds of oracles, tarot, when they're learning divination, I mean, that's very important to protect yourself. So in every aspect of magic, you have the need for protection. And I can't go, I mean, you've seen, there's so much stuff I couldn't even include in the book because there just wasn't enough space, but there's so many reasons to be aware of protecting yourself. And amulets, you and I, it's funny, before the show started, I said, that what I have on here is just what you can kind of see, but I have probably 50 other chains. My niece always says that she can, whenever I'm at my sister's house, they can hear me because I jingle, when I'm walking, I'm walking down the stairs.
Because you don't always want everybody to know what you got going on, right? So sometimes, and what I love is jewelry that like can pass as just, it's just a design, but it's actually something. So I'm going to give you an example. So this ring,
beautiful.
It looks just like, it's just a sterling, but can you see how it's an eye?
It's an eye. Yeah. Right now it's actually, there's a blue, it's catching the blue.
Yeah. It's rainbow moonstone. So it's going to give you a blue flash, but like, that ring might just look like, it's just a ring. It's a sterling ring and it's got a stone on it. If you looked real quick, be like, she's wearing a ring with a stone on it. No big deal. But it's actually an eye. You know what I mean? So I know it's an eye. I know what I'm doing with it. But maybe other people don't because they just look at it and go, it's a sterling ring with a stone on it. It's not as obvious as like some of these pieces are very clearly what they are. You see that and you immediately know that person's got a protection on them, and that's not a bad thing. That's a part of it. But then there are others that you can also be working with, and you don't necessarily shout it from the rooftops that this is a protective piece or this is what this is doing. And some of them, like you said, you wear them under your outfit. So, and like this one, I don't always wear this one out where you can see it. A lot of times this one's going on behind the scenes, or there's others that are going on behind the scenes.
And it's not only the amulets you wear.
You can see it.
It's also the amulets that you're in your home that you can hang that people don't know about. You know, the Nazar plate that, you know, you can make, or just, you know, making it with the salt, and as I describe in the book, with the garlic and the pepper. These are things you hide it somewhere. You don't. Someone has to know about it. It's there. You know about it, and you know it's working. And that's an incredibly important thing. What are you doing in your home? You know, that's a big thing. Who's crossing that threshold? You know, do they know? They don't necessarily know what they're crossing. You know, maybe you have something under the doormat. Maybe you have something above the door. They don't know. That kind of that amulet work is so strong, and I love those kinds of things because people don't necessarily know what's going on, and they shouldn't really. But I also love the ones when you walk in. I walk into people's homes and they have huge hamsas, you know, right there. I mean, you walk into my apartment, you'll see a huge hamsa. But I love those too. But you know, people will give you a message and say, you know what, there's a lot of protection going on here. You can see it there. Aha! There, that's beautiful. Oh wow. See?
I didn't even think about that until you started saying you'll see these huge hamsas, and I'm like,
it's right there. But that's a message too, and that's the message. You're giving a message. You know, welcome, but proceed with caution. You know, because I know I'm aware of it, and I'm going to keep myself protected. This is a protected space.
I have a big hamsa here tattoo that's made up of a bunch of other things, and it's Ganesh right in the center, and then there's two like ravens that form like the thumbs. And then there's cobras that come up that make like the thing up at the fingers, and it's a very elaborate. I'll show you, but not on camera. I'll show you later.
And talk about the animals you've used there for protection. I mean, huge. Huge there. Tattoos. I mean, I didn't get into tattoos in very much really in the book, but of course it goes, like you said, without saying, so many people have amulets tattooed on their bodies. And, you know, certainly, why not? I mean, I'm still deciding what my second one's going to be. But the other thing that since we're talking about amulets, I always bring up, a lot of people talk about when they're wearing an amulet and they say, oh, you know, something bad must have happened because I looked in my Nazar or my Hamsa or my Mano, you know, the Cornuto or the Cornet or whatever it is broke, or there's a crack in it or something happened. I tell people, no, that's not bad. That's good. It actually means the amulet is working.
It's working.
It caught the hit. It took the hit for you.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Or it fell off the wall. A week ago, someone said, oh my God, it fell off the wall and went crashing down. And I said, gave you a message, right? It's telling you what's going on.
Absolutely.
Environment more. So
we say that all the time too. And people will tell me, like, if they get a hematite ring and it snapped, I'm like, it did its job. Time for a new one, but it did its job. It kept you grounded. It kept you, you know, it kept you in yourself. So you made the right decisions. You made the right choices. You went on the right path, but now it's time to replace it, you know? So it's like, if you snapped it, then but we always say, took the hit for you, you know? So it's like, that's kind of a common magical theory, I suppose. When you have crystals or things that break on you, it's like, well, it took the stress, took the stress, it did its job, you know, time to replace it, but, you know.
Or add to it, you know, you and I clearly, you know, we add to a lot of things here. And I love the idea also of, you know, blending a lot of different amulets and knowing what resonates with you, and, you know, knowing the history and where it comes from, which each amulet has a unique power to it. So I think it's very, very much, you know, a part of the journey that you embark on when you start learning about the evil eye and stuff like that. It draws you to the amulets. And they're, they're just so powerful. And when you really get into them, it kind of becomes, I've never really known someone who's just purchased one. Let's put it that way, and left it at that.
Right?
One,
It's like
no.
potato chips, or things like that, where they say you can't have just one. Tattoos is another one.
I know, I have one.
You can't have just one. They say, once you're there, you're it's in for a penny, in for a pound.
It's very, very true. And one
of the other things that I really wanted to mention is as I was reading through the book, I kept thinking to myself that the symbol of the eye is also associated with knowledge. And it's always been so you think about like sort of the Illuminati, that whole like the pyramid with the eye, that whole thing, that the idea of the eye, not only being vision, but also somehow being associated with a knowledge or an awareness, right? Maybe a preternatural awareness, but an awareness. And all of a sudden what came to me was know thyself. And I said, yes, because part of battling the evil eye is, as we talked about earlier, when I mentioned that number 3 is kind of under our control, right? Because that's ourselves. That's kind of how we can do this to ourselves sometimes. And we're our own worst enemy, as they say. And I said, that's the message of the magician is, mastery, self-mastery. And that's so important in all of this, and knowing thyself. And that's what's super powerful, is the idea of self-knowledge and controlling the self and controlling your emotions and stuff like that. And don't you hit at page 210, doesn't know thyself show up in this book. And I'm like, all right, Antonio and I are in mind meld right now. We're in mind meld. It's like you're a brother from another mother, because I feel like we could talk literally for the next 5 hours about this, and I would not be the least bit bored about it. But looking at the time, we do have to wrap up. Leanne is completely bullshit that she couldn't get back in, because she so wanted to talk to you about this. She so wanted to be a part of this.
So we'll have to do another episode. That's it. Right?
That's it.
We're
going to have to do this again.
I'm there.
A few months down the road, we're going to have to talk about this again, right? And we'll have to discuss what the arc is of, the things that have happened, any practices that we put. Guys, you're going to want to find out how to diagnose the evil eye. You're going to want to find out some different methods of keeping you and your family and your loved ones safe. Pick this up. Easy read. You will digest this in at most 2 days. Like, you'll fly through this book. So much great information. You're going to come back to it again and again. Get the book. That's all I have to say. Get the book. You'll be glad you did.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I look forward to coming back, because we have so much more, to discuss.
We have so much we can talk about. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been great.
It's my pleasure. And I look forward to it.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you soon. And everybody else, I'll see you tonight on Jewelry, Gallows Hill Witchery. I'll see you tonight, 7:00 Eastern. What you had.